One accidental night under the same roof turned my life upside down. I was 24, she was over 40, and by morning, whispers had already labeled us lovers. What no one knew was how that night truly began and what it would cost us both. Hey there, name's Ethan. I'm 24, a white guy scraping by as a design intern in Manhattan. Life's pretty much a grind. Long hours at a cramped office, a shoebox apartment I can barely afford, and scraping together cash to send back home for my mom's meds. She's been sick for years, and every month I wonder if I'm just spinning my wheels in this concrete jungle. But hey, that's the dream, right? Chasing something bigger in the city that never sleeps. That night, though, the city wasn't sleeping. It was drowning. It was early winter, and the rain wasn't messing around. It hammered down like it had a grudge against everything below, turning the streets into rivers and the sidewalks into slick traps. I'd just clocked out around 11 p.m., my thin jacket doing jack against the wind whipping through the alleys. My backpack hung heavy on one shoulder, stuffed with sketches and a half-eaten sandwich I'd forgotten about. All I wanted was to get home, crash, and forget the day. I ducked into the lobby of my building, shaking off the water like a dog. The place wasn't fancy, just a mid-rise in a decent neighborhood, full of folks like me trying to make it. The elevator hummed as I hit the button for my floor, but then, bam! A crack of thunder shook the whole damn building. The lights flickered wildly, then plunged into darkness. The elevator jerked to a stop midway between floors, the emergency buzzer blaring like a siren in my ears. Shit, I muttered, jabbing the buttons. Nothing. The power was out and I was stuck. My phone had maybe 10% battery, signal spotty as hell in here. I yelled for help, but the only response was the storm raging outside. Minutes dragged on, the air getting stuffier, my heart pounding from the claustrophobia creeping in. Finally, the emergency release kicked in or something. Maybe the backup generator sputtered to life just enough, and the doors creaked open. But I wasn't on a floor, I was between them, staring at the stairwell access. I climbed out, heart racing, and headed down the dimly lit stairs, emergency lights flickering like they were about to give up too. The rain echoed through the concrete shaft and cold air seeped in from cracked windows. That's when I saw her, Olivia, my neighbor from upstairs. I'd seen her around, maybe exchanged a nod or two in the lobby. She was 41, I guessed, always looking put together in her work clothes, carrying grocery bags or typing on her phone. We weren't friends. Hell, we were barely acquaintances. But there she was, stranded too, hauling 2 heavy bags up the stairs, her coat dripping. "You okay?" I called out, my voice echoing weirdly. She turned, startled, her face pale under the emergency glow. "Yeah, just trying to get home. Power's out everywhere." "Looks like it. Elevator's toast." I grabbed one of her bags without thinking, habit from helping my mom back home. "Here, let me." She hesitated but nodded. "Thanks. I'm Olivia, by the way, 9th floor." "Ethan," I said, hefting the bag. "7th. Guess we're climbing together." We started up the stairs feeling endless in the dark. Thunder boomed again, shaking the walls, and rain slammed against the building like bullets. Halfway up, a gust of wind howled through a loose window, blasting us with icy spray. I shivered hard, teeth chattering. Olivia noticed, pausing to shrug off her coat. "Here, put this on. You're freezing." "No, I can't." "You can," she insisted, draping it over my shoulders. It was warm from her body, smelling faintly of lavender and rain. I froze for a second, something stirring in my chest. Who does that for a stranger? But I mumbled thanks, and we kept going. By the time we reached her floor, the storm was a monster. Lightning flashing like strobes, thunder roaring nonstop. She fumbled with her keys, but the hallway was pitch black. Emergency lights failing up here too. "Damn, I can't see a thing," she said, her voice tight. I pulled out my phone flashlight, the beam shaky from my cold hands. She got the door open and we stumbled inside. Her apartment was small but cozy, bookshelves, a soft lamp that didn't work without power, and a window overlooking the chaotic city below. Rain pelted the glass like it wanted in. "Thanks for the help," she said, taking her coat back. "You can wait here if you want. Until the power comes back. Stairs are a nightmare right now." I glanced outside. The storm was worsening, sheets of water blurring the skyline. My floor was 2 down, but climbing back in this? If it's not too much trouble, not at all. She lit a couple of candles, the flames dancing shadows across the room. The air warmed a bit from the residual heat, and she boiled water on a gas stove for tea. Ginger scent filled the space, cutting through the chill. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, a coffee table between us like a barrier. Silence stretched, broken only by the storm's fury. I sipped the tea, warmth spreading through me. "This city's brutal sometimes," I said, just to fill the void. She nodded, staring at the window. "Yeah, I thought after my divorce I'd handle the alone parts better. But nights like this, they remind you." I looked at her. Really looked. She had lines around her eyes from smiling, or maybe from stress, but they made her real. Divorce? That sounds rough. It was. He left when I lost my job a few years back. Said he couldn't handle the instability. Now I work late every night just to keep things steady for my daughter. She's away at college. Her voice cracked a little, but she straightened. "What about you? Young guy like you, why Manhattan?" I shrugged, the tea burning my tongue a bit. "Chasing the design dream, but mostly sending money home. Mom's sick. Cancer. I send what I can for treatments. Feels like I'm treading water here." She met my eyes, something softening in hers. "That's heavy for 24. You're stronger than you think." We talked more, sporadic at first, then flowing. She shared about her daughter's texts nagging her to rest. I opened up about the guilt of being far from home. The storm raged on, thunder shaking the building like it might collapse. Midnight came and went. Power stayed out. She grabbed blankets, tossing one to me. "You can crash on the couch. I'll take the chair." "No way," I said. "You take the couch. I'm fine." She shivered as another gust hit the window. I'm used to the cold. But she wasn't. I saw her curl up, arms wrapped tight, eyes glistening in the candlelight. Minutes passed, the room growing colder. Then softly, "If just sitting closer for warmth, would that be weird?" My heart slammed. The storm howled louder, lightning illuminating her face. Vulnerable, real. I shifted nearer, our shoulders almost touching. No contact, but the heat between us built, chasing away the chill. Our breaths synced with the rain's rhythm, and in that moment, two strangers weren't so strange anymore. The night stretched, thunder fading to a rumble, but the tension, the raw, unexpected connection, hung thick, pulling us into something neither saw coming. The morning light filtered through the curtains like a hesitant intruder, pulling me out of a shallow sleep. I blinked awake on the couch, the blanket tangled around my legs, the faint scent of ginger tea still hanging in the air. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then it hit me. Olivia's apartment, the storm, the power outage, us sitting closer than strangers should, sharing warmth and stories in the candlelight. My heart skipped, but the room was quiet now, the rain reduced to a soft patter against the window. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. The power was back. The clock on the wall blinked 6 a.m., resetting itself. Olivia was already in the kitchen, her back to me, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. She looked composed again, hair tied back, wearing a simple robe over her clothes from last night. No sign of the vulnerability from hours ago. "Morning," she said without turning, her voice steady but soft. "Coffee?" "Yeah, thanks." I stood, folding the blanket awkwardly, feeling like an intruder in the daylight. We avoided each other's eyes as I took the mug, the steam rising between us like a barrier. Neither of us mentioned the night, the stories, the closeness, the way we'd inched nearer without a word. It felt too raw, too exposed now that the storm had passed. I sipped the coffee, burning my tongue, and muttered, "I should head out. Thanks for everything." She nodded, a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Anytime. Be safe out there." I grabbed my backpack and slipped out the door, the hallway lights buzzing back to life. The building felt normal again, but as I descended the stairs, elevator still offline, I couldn't shake the weird buzz in my chest. What the hell was that? A one-off act of kindness? Or something more? I pushed it down, focusing on the day ahead. Work, emails, the grind. But normal didn't last. By the time I reached the lobby, I felt eyes on me. Mrs. Hargrove, the nosy retiree from the 3rd floor, was there collecting her mail. She glanced up, her gaze lingering a beat too long, something sharp in it. I nodded politely and kept walking, but unease prickled my skin. Outside, the streets were slick with puddles, the city waking up like nothing had happened. I shook it off, headed to my place for a quick shower, and rushed to the office. Work was a blur, sketches, meetings, the usual. But around noon, my phone buzzed with a notification from the building's resident group chat. I rarely checked it, mostly complaints about trash or parking, but curiosity got me. The message was from an anonymous user, a blurry photo of me leaving Olivia's door that morning, time-stamped around 6:15. The caption? Late night visitor? Guess some people take neighborly help a bit far. Comments piled up fast. 24 and already playing house with the divorcee upstairs? Must be lonely up there on 9. Careful, kid, she's got baggage. My stomach dropped. How? Who took that? I scrolled, heat rising in my face. More piled on. He's just an intern, probably looking for a sugar mama. Women her age should know better. Desperate much? I turned off notifications, my hands shaking. This was bullshit. Nothing happened. We talked. Shared a blanket. But in their eyes, it was already twisted into something sleazy. I tried to focus on work, but the whispers in my head wouldn't quit. By evening, I headed home, dread building. The lobby was empty, but as I waited for the elevator, back online now, a couple from down the hall passed by. They glanced at me, then away, their conversation dipping to murmurs. Paranoia? Maybe. But it felt real. Up on my floor, I paced my tiny apartment, replaying the night. Should I text her? Apologize? Ignore it? Around 8 p.m., I grabbed a coffee from the corner shop, black, no sugar, like she'd made that morning, and stood outside her door, heart-hammering. What if she blamed me? What if this ruined her rep? I raised my hand to knock, but froze. Voices echoed from the stairwell, neighbors chatting. I shoved the cup back in my bag and bolted, feeling like a coward. The next day, it escalated. At work, a coworker, turns out he lived nearby, slapped my back with a grin. Heard you had a wild night in the storm. Scoring with the hot MILF upstairs? I laughed it off, but inside I seethed. Hot MILF? Olivia wasn't that. She was kind, strong, real. But the label stuck, reducing her to a punchline. I imagined what she was facing. Later that evening, I saw her in the lobby, heading out with her bags. People went quiet, a deliberate hush. One woman smirked, whispering to her friend. Olivia kept her head high, but I caught the flicker in her eyes. Hurt, exhaustion. She didn't see me. I ducked into the shadows, guilt twisting my gut. That night, alone in my bed, I stared at the ceiling. We'd done nothing wrong. So why did it feel like the world had already convicted us? Days blurred. The group chat blew up more, anonymous jabs, memes even. Young Buck and the Cougar, classic Manhattan tale. I deleted the app, but the damage was done. Friends texted, probing with jokes. At the office, whispers followed. I avoided the lobby, taking the back entrance. And Olivia? I didn't see her. Her door stayed closed, lights dim. Part of me wanted to knock, explain, but what could I say? Sorry the world's an asshole? One evening I caved, typed a message. Hey, about the other night, you okay? Sent. No reply. Hours ticked by. Nothing. I tossed my phone, frustration boiling. We were just neighbors helping each other. But in their eyes, we were a scandal. And now, that label was defining everything, pushing us apart before anything could even start. The days dragged on like a bad hangover, the whispers and stares lingering in every corner of the building. I couldn't shake the group chat poison. It replayed in my head, during commutes, at my desk, even in the shower. Work became a refuge, burying myself in designs and deadlines. But even there, the city's gossip web felt inescapable. I'd catch myself glancing at my phone, hoping for a reply from Olivia. Nothing. Radio silence. Part of me wondered if she'd blocked me, or worse, if she regretted the whole night. But I couldn't just vanish. That felt wrong, like abandoning ship after one storm. So I stayed, in my own quiet way. It started small. Things no one would notice, or so I thought. One evening I saw the hallway light on her floor flickering, about to burn out. I grabbed my toolkit from home, waited till late when the corridors were empty, and swapped the bulb. Quick job, in and out. The next night, her doorknob looked loose, probably from the wind rattling it during the outage. I tightened it with a screwdriver, heart pounding like I was committing a crime. Then, on rainy evenings, I'd spot her struggling with the trash bins downstairs. I'd happen to be there, offering to push them to the curb. No big deal, I'd mutter if our eyes met, then slip away before words could complicate it. She saw it all, I knew she did. Once, through her window blinds, I caught her silhouette pausing, watching me fix something in the hall. But she never acknowledged it. No thanks, no wave. I got it. Any contact would fuel the fire. The rumors were already ablaze. He's stalking her now? Poor woman. Probably scared to say no. I overheard snippets in the laundry room, felt eyes boring into my back at the mailbox. It stung, but I kept going. These little acts were my way of saying, I'm still here. Not for the gossip, but for you. Then came the slip-up that cracked everything wide open. It was a drizzly afternoon, midweek. I was heading back from lunch when I spotted Olivia outside the building, caught without an umbrella as the sky opened up. She was juggling her phone and bags, rain soaking her coat. Without thinking, I dashed over, popping open my umbrella. Here, share this, I said, holding it over her as we walked the last block. She looked surprised but grateful, our arms brushing briefly. Thanks, Ethan. You're a lifesaver. It was innocent. 2 neighbors in the rain. But across the street, one of her coworkers was grabbing coffee, phone in hand. Snap. The moment captured. The fallout hit her hard. The next day, she got hauled into her boss's office. Olivia, we need to talk about your personal life, the manager said, sliding a printed screenshot across the desk. The photo of us under the umbrella, already circulating online with captions like, age gap drama in the building? Her heart sank. Clients are noticing, he continued, voice laced with fake concern. We can't have distractions affecting the firm's image. Keep it professional, okay? No outright accusation, but the implication was clear. Her reputation was tainted, and it could cost her job. She nodded, biting back tears, feeling exposed, judged for something that wasn't even real. Or was it? The night in her apartment flashed back. The warmth, the confessions. But now it was warped into scandal. That evening, I couldn't take the silence anymore. I baked some cookies, lame I know, but it was all I had, and headed to her door, nerves buzzing. She opened it after the second knock, her eyes rimmed red, exhaustion etched into her face like she'd aged a year overnight. Ethan, she whispered, glancing down the hall like a fugitive, you shouldn't be here. I brought these, I said, holding out the plate like a peace offering. Just wanted to check on you. She stepped aside reluctantly, letting me in. The apartment felt different now, colder, despite the heat. We stood in the kitchen, the cookies untouched. We need to stop this, she said finally, voice cracking. Whatever this is, there's nothing between us but people. They don't believe that. I leaned against the counter, gut twisting. I don't care what they say. I'm not afraid of the talk. But I am, she shot back, eyes welling. For you. You're young, Ethan. Your whole life's ahead. Don't let me drag you into this mess, being labeled as some opportunist kid chasing an older woman. The words hit like a punch. Is that what you think I am? A ruckus? No, she said quickly, stepping closer but stopping short. But that's what they'll make you, and I can't watch that happen. I stared at the floor, the weight of it all crashing down. So we just pretend nothing happened? Ignore the fact that night meant something? She turned away, shoulders slumping. It has to be this way. For both our sakes. The door clicked shut behind me as I left, the sound echoing like a finality. I made it halfway down the hall before my legs gave out. I slid down the wall, sitting on the cold floor, tears burning hot trails down my face for the first time in years. Silent sobs, the kind that hurt deep in your chest. Their words, the judgments, the sneers, weren't just noise anymore. They were killing whatever fragile thing had started between us, slicing it apart before it could breathe. And in that moment, alone in the dim corridor, I wondered if we'd ever find a way back. The news hit like a freight train derailing in my chest. It was a Thursday morning, gray and unforgiving outside my window, when my phone buzzed with a call from home. My sister's voice on the other end, tight and urgent. Ethan, Mom's in the hospital. She collapsed last night. Doctors think it's her heart from the stress of the treatments. You need to come. My world tilted. I mumbled something about getting there soon, hung up and stared at the wall. The internship? Screw it. I emailed my boss a vague excuse about a family emergency, grabbed my keys, and bolted. But as I rushed down the stairs, my mind splintered. Mom, the bills, the distance, and then, unbidden, Olivia. The silence between us had stretched into weeks now, a gaping void filled with unspoken regret. How could I face this alone? By afternoon, I was back in the building, pacing the lobby like a caged animal, waiting for a rideshare to the airport. My flight was booked for the red-eye, but time crawled. That's when I heard the commotion, a sharp cry, the clatter of heels on tile. I turned just in time to see Olivia at the entrance, slipping on the wet floor from the lingering rain. Her high heel snapped and she went down hard, bags scattering, a gasp escaping her lips as she hit the ground. People froze. Neighbors milling about, a delivery guy, the doorman. They looked, but no one moved. Whispers started, "Oh, look at that! Clumsy much?" But underneath, the judgment I'd come to know too well. I didn't think. I ran. Olivia! I dropped to my knees beside her, heart slamming. Her ankle twisted awkwardly, pain etching her face. "Are you okay? Does it hurt bad?" She winced, trying to sit up. I think it's sprained. Damn shoes!" Tears welled in her eyes, not just from the fall, but from everything, the isolation, the stairs. I helped her up gently, my arm around her waist for support. "Lean on me. We need to get ice on that." That's when the snide voice cut through. Mrs. Hargrove, arms crossed, smirking from the sidelines. "Oh, please. Acting all chivalrous now? We know what this is. Another scene from your little romance. Young guy like you preying on a vulnerable woman. Disgusting." The lobby went dead silent. Heads turned, phones half raised like they were ready to capture the drama. Rage boiled up in me, hot and unfiltered. For weeks, I ducked, hidden, let their words chip away at us. But seeing Olivia like this, hurt, humiliated, alone in a crowd, it snapped something. I stood, facing Hargrove and the gawkers, my voice steady for the first time. "We're not acting, and we're not doing anything wrong." One night, during a blackout, she let me wait out the storm in her place. We talked. That's it. No affair, no scandal. But you all? You've turned kindness into dirt. A neighbor helping a neighbor. That's a crime now? The doorman shifted uncomfortably. A few people looked away. Hargrove huffed. "Oh, come on. We've seen the photos, the whispers. Boy your age sneaking out at dawn? Spare us the Innocence Act." I stepped forward, adrenaline surging. "Photos? Whispers? That's your proof? Fine, judge me. Call me a boy or whatever makes you feel superior. But have any of you ever been truly alone? Stuck in a storm? No one to turn to? If you haven't felt that loneliness, go ahead. Keep judging. But don't pretend you're better. We're just two people who needed a friend that night. If that's a sin, then yeah, guilty." The silence was thick, oppressive. Someone coughed. Hargrove's smirk faltered, and she muttered something about kids these days before shuffling off. The delivery guy finally moved, picking up Olivia's bags. The doorman offered, "Need help getting upstairs?" But Olivia, still leaning on me, shook her head. Tears streamed down her face now, not from pain, but release. She gripped my hand tight right there in front of everyone, no hiding. "Ethan," she whispered, voice breaking. "Thank you." We hobbled to the elevator together, the lobby emptying awkwardly behind us. Inside, doors closed, she turned to me, eyes searching mine. "You didn't have to do that." "I did," I said, squeezing her hand. "For you, for us, whatever us is." The ride up felt eternal, but for the first time the weight lifted a fraction. Her apartment door clicked open and I helped her to the couch, propping her foot with pillows, fetching ice from the freezer. "This might swell," I said, wrapping it gently. "You should see a doctor." She nodded, but her gaze stayed on me. "Ethan, the rumors. They'll get worse now. Let them." I sat beside her, closer than before. "I've been hiding too long. Mom's in the hospital, got the call today. It put things in perspective. Life's too short for their bullshit. If they want to talk, fine, but I'm not turning my back on you. She reached out, her fingers tracing mine. I'm scared, but not as much with you here. We sat like that, hands linked, the city humming below. The pressure from outside, the jobs, the stares, the labels didn't vanish. If anything, it ramped up. More texts from concerned neighbors, a passive-aggressive note slipped under my door. At work, my boss pulled me aside. Heard some chatter about you and a resident. Keep personal stuff out of the office. But that moment in the lobby, it changed us, gave us armor. We weren't hiding anymore, we were facing it. Together. And in her eyes I saw the spark, the one from that stormy night, flicker back to life. For the first time, we had the strength to admit what we'd felt all along. We didn't make any grand declarations after that lobby showdown. No dramatic speeches to the neighbors, no social media posts defending ourselves. Hell, we didn't even label what we were. It just started. Small things, the kind that build quietly, like bricks in a wall you don't notice until it's standing tall. The next morning I texted her, "Coffee downstairs? My treat." She replied almost immediately, "Sure, 8 a.m.? And there we were, in the building's dingy cafe corner, sipping black brew under fluorescent lights, ignoring the occasional side-eye from passers-by. At first, it was tentative. We'd chat about safe stuff, work, the weather, her daughter's latest college drama. But soon the barriers crumbled. Evenings turned into shared walks around the block, rain or shine. I'd send a quick "home yet" when her shifts ran late, and she'd reply with a simple "almost." You? It wasn't romance in the movies, no flowers or candlelit dinners. It was real. Me showing up with takeout after her long days. Her leaving a spare key under the mat when I mentioned Mom's hospital updates, stressing me out. The rumors didn't vanish overnight. Oh, they simmered. Mrs. Hargrove still shot dirty looks in the elevator, and the group chat probably lit up with fresh speculation. At work, my boss gave me the side-eye during a review. "Focus on your designs, Ethan. Distractions aren't helping your probation." Olivia faced it too, subtle digs from clients, a coworker jokingly asking if she was robbing the cradle. But we didn't fight back. We didn't need to. Staying, that was our quiet rebellion. Not against them, but for us. For not abandoning each other when it would have been easier to run. One night, about a month in, the rain came back fierce, echoing that first storm. We were in her apartment, thunder rumbling outside like an old grudge. She was curled on the couch, foot still bandaged from the fall, reading a book while I sketched on my tablet. The power flickered, but held. She set the book down, eyes distant. "Ethan, if that night I hadn't invited you up..." I looked up, setting my pencil aside. "Then I'd have knocked anyway, or waited in the lobby till you were safe. Storm or no storm." She laughed softly, but tears slipped down her cheeks, happy ones mixed with the weight of it all. "You're braver than I gave you credit for." I moved closer, taking her hand. "And you're stronger than anyone knows. Don't cry." She wiped her eyes, smiling through it. "So, don't leave, okay?" "Wasn't planning on it," I said, pulling her into a gentle hug. We stayed like that, the rain a steady drum against the window, her head on my shoulder. It wasn't passion-fueled, it was comfort. The kind that heals cracks you didn't know were there. Mom got out of the hospital a week later, stable but fragile. I flew home for a few days and Olivia texted every night. "How's she?" "Take care of yourself too." When I returned, she was waiting with homemade soup, the kind that warms you from the inside out. We ate in silence at first, then talked. About her ex's ghost fading, my fears of failing Mom, the city's relentless grind. No more hiding behind small talk. The building adjusted, in its way. Some neighbors thawed. The doorman nodded approvingly one day, a quiet ally. Others clung to their judgments, but their words lost power. We weren't proving anything to them. We were building for us. Weekends became ours. Park benches in Central Park. Her teaching me to cook pasta that didn't taste like cardboard. Me showing her my designs over late-night wine. Manhattan stayed cold that winter, winds howling through the streets, snow blanketing the chaos. But in those moments with her, it didn't touch us. We'd stand by the window watching flurries dance, her hand in mine. No more sleeping alone through storms, No more wondering if kindness was a mistake. We were just Ethan and Olivia, two people who'd found each other in the dark and chosen to stay in the light, and that was enough. More than enough.